Good evening. Welcome to Truthzilla. I'm Megan sitting here with Scott and Ed. Today we have a really special guest. Melody K is a journalist, actor, writer, producer, and a Hollywood refugee living in Manhattan, working to expose elite bloodlines and fight against the hidden hand of global enslavement. Welcome, Mel.
Hi, guys.
So
I'm
happy to have you.
I
We're so
saw
excited,
you.
for sure.
It's so nice to be around people that actually get what's going on once in a while.
We're a little bit few and far between, it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, my God. Well, you guys are in Oregon. I'm in New York. How's it there? What do you guys face there?
It's madness.
It's madness.
We have
It's ugly.
a Democratic governor trying to enslave us all.
It's pretty
very
bad.
similar, I'm sure, on that front.
Now, are your friends and neighbors? Where are they at in this situation?
Again, few and far between. There's a small, every now and then, because as much as possible, I mean, pretty much all the time, I walk into a store without a mask. Every now and then, I'll see another person without a mask, and it's like, yeah.
I've been thrown out. I've been thrown out of 2 stores with much ado, a whole lot of colorful language, like doors shut on me. I had to force my way out. Like, it's been bad. It's been bad.
I got told my mask wasn't good enough at Costco.
Oh, wow, that's big.
They had a sheet. They had a sheet of the 3 acceptable masks.
Totally. It didn't fit the criteria.
God. How far are you guys from Portland?
2 hours south.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, good. Thank God for that. I mean, that's even worse.
Yeah.
God,
Still.
Such beautiful land up there, you know? You just wonder, we let them steal it from under us, and now we got a bunch of lunatics running around.
Burning it to the ground as they
exactly.
go. Yes.
Have you guys had fires near you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. Springfield
Wow, really?
got evacuated, part of it. So.
Yep. Real close to us. We had a whole lot of evacuations. There was the fairgrounds near us and some of the schools they were using as kind of the hub for people who had been evacuated or lost their homes. It was a great community outpouring over there, but it was just we were just blanketed with, smoke. It was just dead air, really hard. And we didn't see flames here, but it was thick. You couldn't even see across the street, at times. It was just horrific. So
Snowing
I think
ash.
we were maybe 12 to 16 miles in from it. I think is about, when I looked on maps, I think about 12 miles from where I live in Eugene is about how close it got. So
wow.
yeah.
No, when I used to live in LA, I remember when the LA fires happened when my last year there. The fire comes and it goes so fast. People don't realize when the fire hits, you got to run.
Yes.
I didn't realize, but the fire's so fast. It's so devastating. And to imagine, you guys, what do you think? You think that it was targeted?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
all that. Yes, on purpose. Yeah. Yes, bad forest management on purpose. Yes, all of it. And I totally think that our governor was behind some of that, or all of it. The arson, there's no way that any of these losers are just out there starting mass arson fires, right? These are just the bottom barrel human beings of the earth, and we've got this bottom barrel human being as our governor. She's an absolute piece of garbage. She's vile. She's a vile.
I know, but they're all involved. They're all part of the. They're all slaves to the one world order. They are. They're working for them. They're trying to destroy. In my opinion, they're trying to get. They're trying to destroy our country to the point that we beg for the UN to save us.
Yes, totally.
I don't understand that we get. We don't. We do. But the truth is that this is a plan. It's a mass plan that for them, because we can talk about it, but when we look at what's really going on, all of us discuss it all the time. The Rockefeller University put out 10 years ago what was going to happen right now. Mm-hmm. And then when you look up these color revolutions and all this stuff going on, this is the George Soros regime change playbook.
Big time.
So, so they're hitting everywhere where it counts. Like in Oregon, the land counts. Most people there are outdoors people. There's a lot of industry that has to do with it. So they're destroying that. In Manhattan, they've destroyed the entire restaurant, Broadway, tourism, hotels. Destroyed, and it's all targeted by they have their team. Their team in Oregon, and it's true. And, it's only if you say to people, the scary part is you guys are where I am, where there's rabid Trump haters.
Yes.
That are blind. It's because you know what? It's not about Trump. It's not about Trump.
Right.
If people can't see that it's not about Trump, then, you know, they're willfully blind. But I mean, it's interesting how, like, where you are, it's fires, you know, where I am, it's industry and culture and hospitality, you know, also. And if you go through all the different places, Chicago, it's like mass gang violence, you know, so it's just like, if you go anywhere, it's kind of like geared towards destroying the specific place.
Interesting.
It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. In Portland, right up north there too. I mean, that they had the riots going for over 100 days. Are they still going at this point? I'm not sure. The fires kind of broke it up, I think, a little bit. But you know, I think there's a real case to be made that Portland's they want gearing it for a smart city, just like they are New York.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just getting destroyed.
Go ahead.
Well, and I was just going to say, and I wonder, too, with them letting, what's his name out on...
Chauvin?
That's
Derek
on
Chauvin?
his $1 million bond, if that's... So
City.
my immediate question was, all right, well, who bailed him out?
George Soros.
Right.
Soros, exactly. Soros has to have been.
Right.
And is he going to just
the whole act blue. The point is that, like, you know, I always talk about how Soros uses his whole MO as like, you can't attack me. But all you have to do is scrape back the surface and look on the Open Society website, or go to the website of, I bet, your governor or whoever, and it's going to link to all these people. Yes, exactly what's happening in Portland is happening in New York and Chicago, and it's about the smart cities.
Yes.
I feel like Cuomo and de Blasio already signed on Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt to take everything over here.
I'm sure.
And you know, every day we're seeing like different things. It seems like Con Edison and Spectrum and all these companies are constantly working all over New York. And you know, I'm not being fooled. I mean, our governor is so like grandiose that he doesn't even get that he's telling us that he's inviting in Eric Schmidt and Bill Gates and the whole good group from the UN and the Council of Foreign Relations and everything to reimagine New York. Well, I don't recall him asking the people of New York if we want it to be reimagined. You know, so, I mean, I don't understand how they're getting away with it in Portland, though. It's a very, I really don't get it. The people of Portland, the real people, I mean, they have no option to fight back.
Well, they have been.
They sure as hell try. And I mean, and you know how it is though with the media. Like they just get, anytime anybody steps up for what's right, they shut it down. They completely. It's like social blasphemy. Essentially, you cannot stand up against what is right. You can't speak up against the violence or the burning or people being hurt, or they pull their wild card, you know, their racist card out, you know, that we're fascists, that, you know, and I was going off about this last week, like, you know, our governor puts huge amounts of propaganda behind, like when anybody tries to help in these cities, you know, whether it be, you know, them deputizing, you know, for federal marshals, or whether it has to do with like the Proud Boys coming in. We have Patriot Prayer come in here, and she has, I mean, the political atmosphere and the political ideology here is so absolutely counterintuitive to just even normal humanity. It's just so obvious to me. It's so blatantly obvious, and she just feeds it, and really though the people who come in to stand up, they're doing a good thing, you know, and that's the big argument that we keep having here. What I keep hearing other people say is that, you know, well, they don't have any right to be here because they're not defending something that belongs to them. And I'm like, the hell, it doesn't belong to them, because this is our nation.
When they're defending us in another country, then they're okay with it.
Yeah, but I'm not okay with them burning down the streets in a place where I still want to take my kids. And I'm not okay with them doing what they did in Eugene, you know, whatever, a few months back. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we need them to come and stand up. That is the right thing. And that's what we do, right? You take politics out of it. As human beings, we stand up for what's right, period. It doesn't matter anything else. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You do not have to have all kinds of theological backing to understand right and wrong. And that's really the whole perversion, I feel like, that happens here. It's just so clear is that Kate Brown here would like to, she's completely flipped the script and made this, you know, criminal mentality be the norm, and then in fact that this is what we want, and she essentially celebrates these people, and even the mayor of Portland, right?
He was in the riot.
He was out there rioting with them.
Yeah, so, they really loved him. He's
such a winner.
Yeah, but honestly, these people don't realize. First of all, my governor and mayor are on the same page as your governor and mayor. He rounded up a bunch of Jews last night at it was a children's play in Brooklyn that had about 200 children that weren't socially distanced but wearing masks. But and the parents weren't. And the cops came and rounded them up. Cops never showed up at Black Lives Matter. If you guys watch it, it looks like Germany or Poland in the 40s. They rounded them up, and these first of all, these Jews believe in God, and they believe that the virus is a virus, and that whatever they believe, they are entitled to the right of every human, every person in America, which is the Bill of Rights.
Yes,
and and in my mind, it should have been our leaders. Coming to us and saying, here's what's going on, here's what you need to do, and blah blah blah, and treating us as we are adults and equals to them. They're not treating us like we're equals to them. They're treating us like we're children. And what they should have done, in my opinion, especially as so many friends lost restaurants, let alone all the jobs, just a million things, they should have said, okay, here's what we know, and prepare yourself, your business, your life, whatever. If you don't feel comfortable going outside or going somewhere, don't go. If you feel like you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. It became that the healthy people and the people just trying to live their lives became criminals, where like all the people that are following them or Antifa and Black Lives Matter somehow are the people that our government is backing. They're backing people that are doing are bucking the norm of law and order, while all of us sit there. This also has a lot to do with, I believe it's the same playbook. Like I said, I think that these guys got together at their little Democratic George Soros multi-million-dollar fundraiser in New York or LA, whichever. And they got together and they sat around with the guys from Silicon Valley and these governors and mayors and probably few people from the CCP, since they're running the UN, and they went with the Rockefeller playbook that they wrote out, and their color revolution, and each person is looking at their population and strategically planning every single part to absolutely directly hurt their constituents.
Yes.
So I think when I look at each of these like imploding cities, I look at I've been doing it lately because finally. This might be, I can only hope for all of us that, I feel the same way about your mayor and my governor as you guys do about yours and all of them. I think they're all connected.
Yes.
I really believe that these people are the same people that, sit at the Council of Foreign Relations and laugh about not giving the Ukraine money. That the whole thing with the Joe Biden truth, that was at the Council of Foreign Relations. He's laughing and they're all clapping when he's basically saying he's bribing them to protect his son. And they're laugh, ha ha. Well, those are the same people that think we need to be treated like children. Yeah. And, this never should have been. They completely ignored the Bill of Rights. But I talk to people a lot about that. Stop me whenever.
No, you're good.
I talk to people a lot about the Act of 1871, which everyone needs to look up. They usurped our Constitution, and all these people in Washington, D.C. are functioning off of a faux Constitution. They have no right to edict laws. And I feel like every step they make, look, I don't know what to think of Bill Barr or Durham or any of these people anymore. I have zero faith. I'm trying to, and I follow everything. I don't follow one thing, but I do my own research. And all I'm saying is there's plenty of things so far that both of our mayors and governors should be arrested for.
So much so.
This is not we the people. This is not for us. And
it's literally like crimes. Sorry to interrupt you. It's literally crimes against humanity. On a day-to-day basis from our elected officials. They've completely come over and just become absolute. Like we're living in Fahrenheit 451, George Orwell, and we have these bleary-eyed governors with this crazy maniacal laughter. I feel like with just the flames behind them, and they're just like, "Fuck yeah, the fall of America. This is what we're here." And I mean, but it's so blatant. It's so blatant.
But we're letting them do it. Is the part that pisses me off?
Well, I think
we're like waiting. Like, okay, is what is Kate Brown going to tell tell us that we get to do this week?
Right. What are we allowed to
it's
do?
Constantly, like every week to week. It's like, what are they going to tell us we're allowed to do?
And I feel
And
like
we do it. I don't know if you guys do, but we do it. I mean, in New York, you're walking outside, whatever. We do it because we don't want our friends that own restaurants and businesses to suffer anymore.
Yes.
I mean, well, what they've done to the restaurant, I mean, that's the bread and butter here. First of all, the hotels, they've all rented out to the homeless people. Of course, there's no treatment or help. So apparently, de Blasio's already spent since March $200 million putting homeless people in hotels. And he's putting them in Marriott's and in W hotels.
But we weren't taking care of our homeless before COVID. We were just letting them rot and die on the streets with needles in their arms. No problem. It's not their problem. But now we're going to help. Oh, okay. Just checking.
Well, yeah, of course. Right. And that's the other thing, of course. But look at the whole homeless thing itself in both of our states. It's so out of control, and it's not a priority. That tells you everything you need to know. Sure. And like you were saying, crime against humanity. I am positive when we look back on this, the toll it has taken in terms of suicide and overdose are going to be leaps and bounds above anyone dying of COVID and COVID-related illness. Absolutely. Because, I mean, in our country, we completely gave up on the mentally ill about 10 years ago. Everyone gave up on the homeless about 10 years ago. I mean, obviously, it's all connected to this. I believe Barack Obama the whole time and then Hillary Clinton would have been. This was all going to ceding our sovereignty to the UN. Yes. That's who these people are working for. And most people don't even know right now, because a lot of people don't do their research like we do. I mean, most people don't know that the UN, almost every single important agency in the UN is run by a Chinese national right now. Yeah, I was listening. So if you go on, this is something you'll be like, get out of here. Yeah. Because, first of all, they were never supposed to be in it. But the older Bush brought them in. And then, then Bill Clinton selling them our farmland and all our ports. And I'm not saying that Chinese people are bad. The Chinese people are just like probably us. Yes. And that's where we're at now, where it's like we're all being dominated at the same time by the same people. And it's very easy to see who their loyalty is to. And it's not to America, and it's not to us. We, the people, have to figure out how to take back this country. Because, and then the gun laws, what are your gun laws like? Are they fair? I mean, you guys have a lot of land. Like I always say to people, I drove cross country. You can't tell people in the middle of a rural America that they can't have a firearm. I mean, it's totally insane. Right. But in New York, we can't have guns. You know that, right? Yeah. So they're letting people out of Rikers. And, after sundown, the people here are scared to go outside right now in Midtown Manhattan. Sure. They're homeless everywhere, and it's growing every day because the middle class can't afford rent here. Mm-hmm. Most people that are stuck here can't afford to leave. Yeah. And at the same time, they're letting people out of Rikers, putting them up in Times Square hotels for real, and then they're emboldened. These criminals know. Yeah. So we can't have guns or anything. I have friends ordering hunting knives because it's at that point where, the criminals in New York City are so emboldened. Nobody even got arrested during the Black Lives Matter marches, and they were very violent. Yes. What they were showing on TV of Portland did look like New York City for a little while until Cuomo got embarrassed. It was more about him than about us. Sure.
But, well, that whole thing to release these violent criminals into the street like that. They're not letting out the people who have marijuana-related crimes, right? We're not letting out the people who we have nothing to fear from, right? We're not letting out. So this is, and by the way, so most everywhere it's legal now, but they're going to still suffer and pay. But we're letting out the violent criminals. We're letting out the rapists. We're letting out the child predators. And don't think that people who tell me that that's they're just trying to make they're so lost to the lies, and I'm like, focus with me for 2 minutes. Let's just break this down, because we're talking we've all been demoralized. We're all being traumatized. This psyop to you're talking about them, really targeting restaurants and the family businesses and all that. That's total agenda to drive us further. And now we've got Newsom in California yesterday or the day before talking about how people need to mask up in between bites at restaurants.
I saw. Newsom is so compromised and so owned. All the politicians in California and all these people people are so compromised and blackmailed and made secret deals. And I mean, that's not an accident.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with what you're saying about, you know, these draconian, they have no, like these rules that they're making, wear a mask between fights.
Yeah.
Like here, you can wear a mask, you have to wear a mask sitting at a restaurant outside, but you can get up and walk on the sidewalk, you know, 1 foot away, and you can take it off.
Not for too much longer if they have their way, though. Because here's the thing, and I know we all know this, but this is just about dehumanizing us.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want us
demoralizing us, separating us.
It's so
you know,
easy. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, a part of me is also, if you look back to, I think I talked about this the other day. I was really obsessed with this woman, Hannah Arendt, who wrote Origins of Totalitarianism and this book called Eichmann in Jerusalem, The Banality of Evil. And, you know, the whole concept of the banality of evil was it was the people that were working at the concentration camps that were evil, you know, that because they didn't think they were. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's all the, like, when they were committing evil, they were just in their minds following orders.
Right.
Well, that's where we're getting now with our contact tracers. You know, and then for me, I mean, it seems very clear to me that, because like you said, I've been saying, what was the criteria to let people out of jail in Seattle, in Portland, in LA, in New York? What was the criteria? Did they happen to be in any groups or gangs in prison that they were, you know, trained and conditioned while in there? Because I know they weren't letting out elderly people that, you know, served their sentence and were no longer a risk.
Right.
I mean, they weren't letting out, you know what I mean? Like it didn't look like these were bad criminals, and they're all getting arrested again. And in New York, they're not even keeping them. Yeah. they send them right back out. And
so we have everyone locked up for petty crime. And that's the huge, if you knew nothing else about this agenda, if you only saw that how is that not the biggest red flag in the world? That we're literally that's what these governors are doing. To me, that's just the further proof that they're unleashing chaos into our streets. And that's part of it too, is number one, to divide us, and two, because they're gonna push people at some point. The people who are standing up for what's right are gonna stand up, and they're gonna stand up hard. And that's what they need, because really what we need is everyone to be united, so we can be against this common enemy. And
well, we need to also take ourselves out of the that this is about Trump or Biden.
Right.
You know, this is the first time in my life that I've said to people, if you don't want to vote for either, please don't vote. You know, this isn't because I'm telling you, and you know, this is all proof. I bet you if we got somebody on here from Illinois, somebody on here from Pennsylvania, Jersey, you know, any of the Ohio, any of these democratically run, really liberal bastions, not only were they funded and put in office by the same people, but they also go to the same conferences, the same meetings, the same, you know, I know that Rahm Emanuel ran a whole thing for smart cities for mayors. I mean, you guys and I know that the concept of the smart city is the UN Agenda 2030 that baby. Wants all of us living in smart cities by 2050 latest, and them taking over all the land, you know, and everything, and having us in smart cities. That's part of, you know, what everything, like you're saying, they're burning down our cities to start over.
Yes.
Yep. And while they're burning it down, you know, I heard that they put sensors all over the ground in Times Square during the lockdown, because they're planning for us. I mean, I hear Cuomo saying he's going to be the first totally COVID-free state. Well, what does that mean? That means he's going to be the first state that's mandatory vaccines.
Okay.
But most people don't get what he's saying. And, you know, and to me, so they're putting sensors on the ground. They're putting up these lights. We know nothing really about the 5G whole thing. Yep. I know that there's stuff going on all over the streets all the time by these electric companies and internet companies. I don't know what it is, but I do know slowly but surely the city is becoming 1975, and everyone that can leave is leaving. Yes. You know, and then that housing is going to go down, crash in the market, and then guess what's going to happen in our cities? Amazon's going to move in, and Facebook and Google and Cisco and, you know, and then they're going to have their employees live in our cities. Yeah. And by that point, we will all be like, what happened? if we're not in FEMA camps.
Yeah.
So it's like it's now or never that people start to realize like we're not conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
There's too many coincidences, and even though you're in Oregon and I'm in New York, the playbook seems to be pretty similar, just geared towards the constituent. It's honestly right now, bless you. It's honestly right now, like we the people are ceding our power. And and it's only people like us, and you know how we all get attacked, all the time. Today I did a show this morning about something people don't want me to talk about, which is the Fed. And YouTube banned it already, and it has a warning already on Twitter. I did it this morning with Charlie Ward.
Wow, incredible.
That's how you know. That's what I tell like everyone who I talk to. I'm just like, look, when they put a warning on it, when they say it's fact check, false information, missing content, I'm like, it totally isn't, and just look deeper because that's the goal,
know what I'm
right?
saying? I'm saying, hello, the Fed is a private bank. We own the IRS.
Totally.
We pay our taxes to them. They pay 20% of our taxes to this day to the Crown in the city of London. And this is all facts. Anyone can find these facts. And bam. You know what it said? It didn't even say false information. It said it was dangerous.
Yes.
Dangerous information.
And that is, I'm laughing about it now, but in truth, like in my heart, I'm so like I'm a spiritual woman. All right. I believe that God is who he said that he is. And so I have my faith in the Lord, but I also know that I'm speaking for myself, but this isn't home, right? We're not meant to be here forever. And I feel like that's part of this whole agenda on the other side. And I was so my head was exploding when I was listening to you on the Liberty Advisor, and you were talking about like Eve and Cain and the Canaanites, and I was like, she's like putting everything that I kind of like intuitively know, and like all these little pieces that how like the web slowly come together. And you were saying all this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please tell me more. I need to know more. It's mind blowing. But also, I go back to like this place isn't meant to be permanent for us. So I feel like that God's people, like, yes, we win, but like also we need to understand like the earth isn't our home, right? So we win, but not forever here. And what does forever
and also
mean?
What does winning mean?
Right.
To me, it's more what does winning mean?
Right.
At this point, I just want for people to have their country back and to realize like to go back and look at the original Constitution that got usurped without our permission.
Yes.
In 1871, they signed in a new Constitution that in the District of Columbia, and everyone that works in Washington knows that, and every American person basically doesn't. And what they put in there was also the Fed. People don't know that they're not paying their taxes to our government. They're paying it to a private bank run by the City of London, which is not even London, because London's totally screwed. England's screwed too by it, and Italy. It's the District of Columbia, the Bank of London, which is the Royals Bank, not the Bank of the City of London, the Vatican. These are they're a team. They're the New World Order hub.
Yes.
And they're running this world right now. And the reason they're running this world is because they have a monopoly on the money. And we've allowed this. And I think, people really, I think the biggest reason that the hate and vitriol from the media and politicians and all this is because the people spreading the hate are guilty of terrible crimes, be it the crimes at Epstein Island and all these royal castles all over the place, or in Canada in the Aborigine areas, and or all of that, but also, of crimes like bribery. And, Trump wants to put it all out there. You know why they want Biden to win? Because he's a puppet. The minute he wins, they will end all of these investigations.
Yes.
Yep.
How is it possible that we live in a country where it only came out 2 days ago that there's confirmation that Brennan wrote notes that Hillary Clinton invented the Russian scandal 3.5 years ago? So that these existed this whole time. What kind of evil demons? And the problem is they don't even think about us. What they've done to our country and us over the last 3 years, they don't care. We don't matter. And we don't exist. These people, they go to Davos, they go to Bilderberg, they go to Council of Foreign Relations, they go to all these galas and all these foundation dinners, and we're the ones paying for it. And guess what? They don't even care about us.
Absolutely
if we can't
not.
serve their agenda, then we don't matter. And, as far as I'm concerned, they've been running this all through Obama. They plan to run it all through Hillary. She's at the top of it. But at the same time, I do believe that this whole world, thank God, there's more of us than there are them.
Yeah.
But what we need to start doing is, and I talked to somebody about this today, it's like nobody wants to get into politics, but these people came and they went into our local politics.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the Agenda 2030, Agenda 21. It's all local up.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like the schools.
Yeah.
When you have a child and you're thinking, okay, they're learning this in school, and then you see like a little here, a little there, and you think it's probably not that bad.
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you realize you don't even know your kid because they've been taught everything is the opposite.
Yes.
And you kind of are like, wait a minute, because we trusted schools because when we grew up, we actually learned stuff. Now, once Bill Gates trotted in on his horse and gave every school in America his computers, that also included giving him your child's data, and going on Common Core and making generations of now like robotic children that grow into robotic 20-something Antifa and Black Lives Matter activists that really don't have logical. And they don't read the books we read growing up. They read handouts. They spend all their time trying to pass tests. So those tests are only giving them information that they're going to retain. It's been such a big bubble. But it's like we got to get involved where we can.
Yes.
For us, we have the guts to go out there and talk about it because I'm getting banned all over. I don't make any money. I just do it because I find it fascinating.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
at the same time, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I was so intimidated to when we first started, and this is our 19th week, and even still, I literally it's getting better now. I have a trail of sweat going down my back, and they know because I have this little minor freak out every week, and I say minor, and that could go from 0 to 150 because I get stress going on here. But the truth of the matter is, when we were first doing this too, there was so much hate. I have never experienced in my life so much hideous ugliness coming at all of us. But I'll speak for me to the point where it's gotten to the point now where, and my whole life, I feel like I always got shunned. I always was told, you have a big mouth. You have a big mouth on you, girl. You have a big mouth, girl. I was always so shamed for having an opinion. And now I'm just I've been called everything in the book, told that I should be sacrificed alive, dial this. I've got neighbors telling my kids I'm a racist.
Don't go out with any bloodlines.
Oh, God. So now I'm just now I'm going to be loud about everything because nothing anyone can say anymore is going to hurt my feelings. They've already done that. So now I'm just going to say the truth. That's it.
That's it. It's guess what,
what do we
motherfucker? Now
have
I
to
got a platform.
lose at this point?
Yes.
And like I said, I wasn't kidding when I gave all the girls a shout out because I've been saying this for years. I've always had it much harder. I think women are incredibly mean, way meaner.
Yeah.
Manipulative and say things that go right to the heart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't even know me.
Yeah.
And at this point, I just feel like getting the message out like we are is more important because even if let's say, 200 people see this. Well, if 50 of them go and look up what we're saying, or think what is that about? Or what's that about? Then we are doing something.
That's
and, every day I pray in the morning with my multiple backgrounds. And I just hope that what I'm saying is real and true because I want to put out the truth.
Yes.
Totally.
And that is really important to me. And a lot of this, we were talking before about the evil thing, it's a lot of people don't want to believe that evil exists.
Yeah.
People don't want to believe that de Blasio knew that there was a risk putting those elderly people in a nursing home. There's COVID people in a nursing home.
But I think that's been the agenda of the rulers of the world from the beginning of time. My belief is they want us to be spiritually disconnected. That's the point of mind control. That's the point of the indoctrination. The further away they can get us from what is true, the further away they can get us from our spiritual center, the easier we are to corrupt and to just become these little zombies because you can't think for yourself if you've got this hardened pineal gland, you've got, a total disconnect, spirit, mind. There's a lot of super intelligent people that can't blossom in their gifts and they can't even stand with what they've been given and really be fruitful in it because they're so completely perverted and ruined within, Right.
And we're in debt, everyone's in debt. Everyone's worrying about what's next. Nobody can try to pursue it anymore. I was lucky when I was young because I would do a B job and this and that to get to a place where I could make a living, but it took a long time. But that's not an option anymore. And it's not an option for most people, especially if you have children. Yep. And, we're saddled by this debt, we shouldn't be. And more than that, there's plenty of money. like you're saying that then we can let the guys talk. We should probably have a girls' night.
Oh, this was the goal. We wanted you two to just go back and forth, dude. We knew it was gonna be like this. We're so stoked.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, but really, I mean, but we got to take a step back and think in terms of what is winning this war, because it's a spiritual battle.
It is.
And every day, like they rounded up the Jews last night, they might as well have rounded up the Christians. It's anyone, all the even like all the Abraham, they are against God. That is the bottom line. And it's hard for people to believe, but I follow the what I call it now is the military back channel known as 17, and it has been it said many times to look up these bloodlines, follow the bloodlines, follow the families. Why are these certain people worth $4 or $5 trillion here and there? And then, as we all know, it ends up being the same group of people that's in all of this. Gates or Rockefeller or Rothschild or Bronfman or then you all connect it back to Epstein and then Wexner and then this. They're all the same people, and they're all in these same societies and groups and foundations. Soros, Gates, Warren Buffett, all the tech guys. Yeah. It's them. Yep. It's them. We know who they are. We know, and they have decided that there's just too many of us on this planet.
That's it.
I don't know if you guys know about the Georgia Guidestones. Totally. I firmly believe that Ted Turner put them there.
Over the 500 million.
Well, they're right near CNN. In Atlanta, and he owns a ranch there, and he was the first big funder of the United Nations Foundation. And I don't know if you guys heard my whole thing about the United Nations. Their spiritual partner is the Lucis Trust.
I was actually going to ask you to break that down a little bit.
You gotta look it up. You won't believe it. It will blow your mind that we don't know this.
Yep. I was looking at their...
It is based on the tenets of Lucifer.
Yep.
Right. And yet we have, and then I have people literally in my circle that will hear that and be like, that's not a thing. Or what I really love are the people that accept the whole Luciferian thing, but they completely deny the absence of God. I'm like, where are we going? What is happening here where's the logic? It's really scary. When you were talking about that, I was on my phone and pulling up other windows and I'm like Googling.
Gotta dig into it. You can get in there for hours.
Oh my gosh.
The thing is that So this woman, Alice Bailey, she started Lucifer Publishing. Yes, and it's Satan's Publishing.
Yep.
And she runs her foundation, is Lucis Trust. They changed their name because they thought Lucifer was too obvious. And the meditation room at the United Nations, about 10 blocks from where I am, is the Lucis Trust meditation room at the UN right now.
Yep.
And everything that they have on their thing is absent of God.
Right.
There is no reference to God anywhere at the UN because it is not a UN-based, it's not a God-based, Judeo-Christian or even spiritually based foundation there. The foundation is this Lucis Trust, which came from this other woman, Blavatsky, who was Hitler's occult, priestess. And this is a fact, and they all know it.
Yep.
And there's a whole school out of it called the Arcane School by the UN, and they're all over the planet.
Yep.
And they're all run by the UN, and all you have to do is Google it. They're not ashamed. That's the best part about these people. Once you start doing research, you just can connect the names, and they'll take you to the next one.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I was poking around on the Lucis Trust website for all of you folks listening. It's lucistrust.org, I believe is what it is.
It's at the UN.
And it's at the UN. Yeah. But their website is just fascinating. Like they have this thing called the Great Invocation. I love how everything now is like the great this, the great reset, the this and that. So they have this great invocation, and in the invocation, they keep referring to this thing called capital L light. Well, we all know what that is, the light bringer, right?
It is. Right? It is.
And then they reference Christ in the great invocation, but with an asterisk behind it, and it says at the bottom, you can substitute this for whatever you want. It doesn't have to be Christ, right?
Well, they mean the Antichrist. Yeah, totally. It's totally crazy. Yeah. But the worst part is that it's paid for 100% by the Rockefeller family. The Rockefeller family is one of the bloodline families. They truly are, basically they run all the banks, they run the Fed, they run the UN. They are planning for a one world government. It's been a 100-year plan.
Yep.
Hillary Clinton was supposed to win.
Yes.
COVID was coming with or without Trump.
Yep.
And if for no other reason to vote for Trump, it's because Hillary would have used those FEMA camps
Yes.
that they planned for.
Sure.
Hillary we would have the 2 million dead. The plan for COVID was planned 10 years ago
Yes.
by the Good Group and the Rockefeller Foundation, and they put it all out. They patented these tests 3 years ago, for COVID-19, which shouldn't have even been named yet.
Right.
So it's all you have to do is kind of, you go from that Lucis Trust, then you look at who the donors are. They're Ted Turner, they're Rockefeller, they're Bill Gates is one of the biggest donors to the Lucis Trust, and his father. And then you jump from there, and then you go to the World Health Organization, who's the biggest donor, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
And then it's like Warren Buffett and Rockefeller and this guy and that guy, all the same people.
Yes.
And then you keep looking and you keep looking, and it's all the same people. This is why we've been told by, I believe, General Flynn is really the main person dripping out, crumbs to really look at, or somebody connected to them, which I love them all. And I think that this is really where I think it's the belly of the beast is the whole UN, their philosophy, their one world government. If you look at the World Monetary website, World Monetary Fund, or the IMF, or any of these international organizations, the WHO, anywhere, see, they're all going to say something about the Great Reset. Well, the Great Reset was planned 10 years ago, and they expected it in 2020.
I don't know if you noticed, but World Economic Forum has their own podcast. And
I started listening to it.
Ed's been listening
terrifying.
to it.
It's horrible. It's so bad.
It's all about like
Aren't they so evil? They think that we don't listen to them. We are worker ants.
Yes.
It's like we do not exist to them, and I'm telling you, it's some kind of cult-like mentality where they believe truly these people, and it's probably if I said like Bilderberg, Davos, Council of Foreign Relations, and like the whole Bill Gates contingency at the UN. What is it, about 3,000 people on this planet that decided that they get to decide who lives on this planet, how we live, how we're governed, and any sovereignty they believe is a distraction from their goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we didn't elect any of them. But they've co-opted all the money, and with their private bank that most people don't know is a private bank that controls every single dollar we send to the government is controlled by a foreign-owned bank.
Totally.
And them.
So since we have you here, I think we have to have you touch a little bit on the Payseur family.
Yeah.
We've heard you talk a lot about that.
This is why I got in trouble this morning.
That's like the hand behind the hand, like the
hidden
right.
hand, the hidden hand. Like it's like when I first came across your research, listening to Tinfoil Hat, Sam Tripoli's. I remember where I was at. I think I was at the gym, and I was like sitting there doing exactly like Sam was doing, just going, "Oh my god," the whole time.
Totally,
you know what I mean? And but it's like I've been looking at this stuff for a long time, and I'd never come across the name Payseur or CEDE Co.
Oh, that's by design.
So,
I mean. And Sam got killed, and this morning I did something about it. But the truth is, Payseur is a made-up last name. It means paymaster, and basically the whole story, and it connects to that Act of 1871. And people don't know that the Rockefeller and when I say the Rothschild family, I mean the whole bloodline. There's 12 families. They believe that they rule the world and that we're all inferior, and that they can control us. It's the same families that it's been for the last 100 years. Anyway, so what the story is, it's very hard to find information on them on purpose. This is this is something that most people, if they dug into it, it's a lot of research, but you can find it, and it is there, and there's a reason that people have been taken this way. First of all, the Rothschild family first bailed out the Vatican. So what people have to know is that the Vatican took a loan from these people, just like after the Civil War, America did. So a lot of this comes from those two strategic moves. But basically what happened was after the French Revolution, which was financed by the same bloodline bankers, both sides, King Louis and Marie Antoinette were beheaded, and their 2-year-old son was put into prison. Now, the reason that this matters is because of the bloodlines, the royal family of France was supposed to be the superior bloodline that would create the Antichrist. Now, listen, I know we don't believe this,
Right.
but I'm convinced by my research that they do. And by what I know happened on Epstein Island and in all these castles and in upstate California and in Arizona, I'm led to believe that this is true. Anyone can do their own research. I also believe Stanley Kubrick told us it was true. And I went to film school, so like I was like, I know he's right, and I know they murdered him. Yeah. But anyway, that's a whole nother show. Sure. But anyway, so what happened was that 2-year-old son had this special blood. I think it's called Marvinian. And they were the highest bloodline. So when you look at the when it says who feeds the eye, or the top of the triangle, when it's like the bloodline Illuminati or whatever, it always has the top family. Well, nobody knows who they are. Well, anyway, so the prince, who's now the surviving heir of the royal family, was smuggled out, replaced with a sick child who died. So everyone thought he died. And he was educated and then taken to England, to King George, when he was 19 years old. And the guy who ran the money, who was named George Payseur, but in those days, it was Paymaster, this man George. So he ran the money for the French royal family, who was the top of the food chain and still is, apparently. And so anyway, so he gave him part of Virginia Company, which was America before the Revolution. And then he gave him 600 acres in North Carolina. He gave him a boat and a staff and sent him. And now he changes his name to Daniel Payseur, changes George Payseur's name to George Payseur. They come to America, North Carolina, and move in with the Bodie family, which is also a bloodline. And from there on, they started building all the railroads. They own all the land around the railroads. They made a deal with the government that, I remember they had all the money and all the know-how, but they didn't know who they were dealing with. So basically, they came in with a plan with the King of England and the heir of the King of France, Prince Louis, and they built America underneath our noses. And then after they lost the South, the Payseur family brought down this Leroy Springsteen, another Rothschild family from New Jersey, and he started running all the Payseur families. So that's when the names started to get lost. And the original Payseur, his son only had daughters. So they all married and took the new names. But to this very day, the Payseur family basically owns every railroad, every 300 of the 500 S&P corporations. They started through their railroad company, the OSS, which became the CIA. Yep. They started the post office. They started AT&T, Western Union. So it was all because they started building the railroads, but then they owned all the steel companies. They owned all the companies that made the rail cars and the tracks. But then they somehow got it that only railroad companies could own energy companies. So then it grew. Then they started buying up all the banks and then gave out banks. So if you trace back everything right now, the Payseur Family Trust to this day still controls 300 of the 500 corporations on the S&P, and also owns almost everything on the stock exchange. The Payseur Family Trust apparently right now is worth $23 quadrillion.
Quadrillion, everybody. So yeah, and that's crazy. You know, like I saw some court documents that got released so there's like the Payseur Trust was divided up into like 3 different factions or something, and then like court documents came out showing like the holdings of one of them, and it was like we're talking like Carnegie Steel, we're talking Standard Oil, General Motors, Exxon.
General Motors, right?
It's like
unbelievable, and that's only a third of them. Yeah. And here's the thing, though: this is how they do it. It's the whole shell company thing that's going to bring down the Clintons, I hope. But it's more so all these companies that we see, a lot of food companies, you know, I mean, they also own a lot of the satellites and you know, almost all our grid is owned by their PG&E. I mean, you know, if there's they own Heinz, they own, you know, but the thing is that it comes out of this trust. So we, the public, think that there's a CEO and a board of directors. Well, that CEO and board of directors work for this trust. And so all these people, they still are owned by basically the French royal family. And they own the Fed. They're the top of the food chain of the Fed. And people say, well, why are the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the Astors or anyone, the Kennedys, the Lees? Because of their bloodline, the Payseurs they are at the top. It's like a cult. And when it says like they all feed the eye, I believe the eye is this family. That is not their, like I say to everyone, like we don't have to debate it. It's not their last name. The point is that they own America. They own all our mortgages. All of our, you know, it's their new constitution that made it that we have social security numbers, and our social security numbers are basically tax accounts for them. You know, so, and all of this goes back to that Act of 1871. And then these people are the same people with Jekyll Island and the Titanic, who then started the Fed, then started the IRS. And then you see how much they started otherwise. They own all the railroad companies. So Southern Railroad is all them to this day. To this day. And the crazy part is that they leased out everything. So it looks like these companies are individual companies. They're not. They're this one gigantor trust that owns America. Period.
And then so how does that tie into so CEDE and Company, CEDE and Company?
So anyway, that's where I was gonna go. So anyway, from my research, and everyone should research it themselves for sure because it's fascinating. Basically, so you know that Bush is I don't know if you know, but Bush is also a bloodline. His father had a lot to do with Operation Paperclip, and you know the Nazis really behind Hitler were also the bloodline families, all wars, but Israel, everything. But basically, it was 99-year leases on these railroads, and the railroads include all the electric companies and all companies that are on 100 acres north and south of the railroad. So think about that. They own all that. So anyway, when the leases went up, it was 1993. And who was in office?
That
George H.W. Bush.
Mr. New World Order.
And George H.W. Bush ran one of their banks in Houston. And George H.W. Bush's bank got sucked up by the Payseur, sucked up again, became Nations Bank, and then Bank of America. So what they established then, that there was the deposit transfer company, DTCC. So basically what they did was they put all of the holdings of this trust in two places. One of it was in the stock market under this, the DTCC is the only organization that can trade on the stock market, but they have a shell company, a corporation called CEDE Co. Well, all of these companies that they own that trade on the stock market, they own outright, and they own them in a shell corporation called CEDE Company. You would think that it would be SEED, SEED, because it's a positive thing, but it's CEDE, CEDE, because what you don't know when you're buying stock is that the minute that you sign the paperwork for an IPO, CEDE Company owns your company. And this has been going on, and nobody says anything because nobody knows, because they can't be audited, because Holder gave them the ability, and other people, but Holder most recently, that they are self-regulated organizations.
SRO.
So CEDE Company, the Fed, DTCC, they can't be audited. They are self-regulating. So anyway, so that's CEDE Companies, all their holdings on Wall Street, and now everyone else's too. They own about 90% of everything being traded on Wall Street, and then the common folk, or the 1%, maybe of 10%, and all of us have nothing because it's all owned by this company once you sign it off.
Right.
And then on the other side, they have Galt Industries that, you know, that guy's tried to like knock people off and stuff. So good luck to me. But anyway, on the other side, they put all the other companies, which are mainly because they also created like ship to shore radio. They created all of the, like I said, they created the original CIA was the OSS, which was this family's secret service, basically, for the railway
police.
That became the CIA.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, and they have this Galt Industries that is basically their electric and, you know, space. I mean, these people have a lot of access.
Yeah.
So when I hear Donald Trump talk about the invisible enemy that you've never heard of, this is who I believe he's speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, the Payseur family is I don't know. It's like I said, it's branched off so many times because the Louis Cass Payseur that is his trust is in his name. He had daughters. So the names are and with these bloodlines, they intermarry to keep the money and a lot of other things. Sure. So it's like, but it is this contingent of people that we're talking about that right now control everything on this planet. It's like, you know, it's like Dr. Evil.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I feel like it's Bill Gates and a bunch of Chinese nationals up there being like, what next?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yep. And they're coming after us hard too. Like, well, Mel, thank you. I mean, that's such good stuff right there. And I really want to encourage everybody to look into that stuff too. Like, it's crazy.
You got to look for yourself.
Yeah,
if I'm all by myself, we're in big trouble.
Seeding company blew my mind.
But it's all out there.
Yeah.
You just have to dig into it. But of course, they don't want to lose it. You know, I believe a lot of their property has been seized already. They really messed up by pulling Jeffrey Epstein, a non-bloodline, into their mix because he became the keystone to all of this. You know, what's that line in Usual Suspects? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist.
Yep.
Well, he does, and he, I think, is living at the UN.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, you speaking about the invisible enemy and Trump and all that, what do you think about House Resolution 1154? Have you looked into that at all? That's the one that said that basically we're not allowed. It's the Congress formally condemning QAnon conspiracy followers. Have you heard about that one at all?
I mean, all I have to say is, and this is how I feel about all these people. The people that are condemning the Q conspiracy have never even looked at the board.
Yep.
And if they had, they're scared shitless. Because my thing is, why aren't they suing people?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at that board and you see Linda Rothschild, evil, and why aren't they suing somebody? Because it's the Department of Defense. You know what I mean? I believe that they're getting out in front of the story is what's going on. All these Q attacks. These are not, first of all, they're probably, you know, getting calls from their friends at the Rhodes Fellowship or the Council of Foreign Relations or one of these places. And they're saying, you got to write an article about this Q. Well, you know, the truth is any person that likes puzzles or information or whatever, if you go onto the QAnon.pub or one of them and you just peck around, and if you're not looking at it thinking, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And not being like, what? You know, then you are completely, you know, naive. And to me, anyone going out there attacking them like on Congress, you know, they never did that to Antifa or Black Lives Matter or BBS. You know, and QAnon is not, there's not a group. It's a board. You know, it's a tool. For me, it's a back channel from the military. I think it's like the Army of Northern Virginia and some, you know, very special folk up there that are dropping down as much as they can for people like us to look at and take the time to look into. You know, I never would have if I didn't see all this stuff. And I'm thinking, what is that? What is that? And then for me, uniquely, I was in LA for 15 years. And I started seeing, and then when the Epstein stuff came out and I had known about a lot of that, and then I started seeing people that I knew and worked with. And then the early drops were very heavy on Epstein and the children in Haiti. You know, it didn't become until far later that they were unraveling the Russia hoax. That's why I believe that Trump ran and General Flynn and all these people, this is going to go back to what happened to these children, especially the Haiti children, but what was happening on these islands and all these castles and with the royals and all of this, because that's the worst, because you can't come back from that. You can't. So to me, especially them condemning it, I want every single name on there, either they never looked at the board, you know, or they're guilty.
They're guilty. They're guilty because there's no way you can turn a blind eye to it. This is, at this point, it's literally like, for the everyday people, it is a willful ignorance. It's absolute, emotionally refusing to look at the truth because they simply can't or won't accept it. But the rest of it, that's on purpose. Like that, there's no coincidence there.
Well, people don't want to believe it. Like I said, people want to believe. People wear blinders.
Yep.
Look at everyone now. Sure. We're walking down the street and I'm thinking, I can't believe it at this point, because I feel like now most people are wearing the mask just because the other guy.
That's totally it. Totally.
Like, why? You know, if we don't stop, it's like, you know, it's like any, you know, revolution. There's always going to be the people that they call crazy in the beginning until everyone's sitting there like, well, we should have stood up for ourselves then, you know, and we are. But at a lot of personal risk, like, you know, that's why I'm like, don't use my last name. People keep doing it. I'll probably never get a job.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we lost a lot. I feel like this whole thing, like we've all said, has just been an agenda that's been, you know, playing out for years and years and years and years. And this is just kind of like, you know, awakening a lot of people. But at the oh God, I lose my train of thought. I start getting so worked up about what. I don't remember whatever we were saying. Well, we'll come back to it.
But, well, if I didn't feel like we were right, then I wouldn't say anything. But if we are right and we don't say anything, even worse.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we lost a lot of ground when we allowed them to mask our kids, and I was saying that leading up to it, because once they get the parents to literally abuse and pervert our children, we're fucked. We're lost. Yeah. You can't recover from that. There was that time when we were on the, you know, the break the curve for 2 weeks. Let's just pull our kids out of school. That they have consistently throughout history. That's what they do. It's about indoctrinating our kids earlier and earlier in the public school system. You know, they want to make the age that we start schooling our kids younger and younger and younger. There's been the huge push to completely undo the family, completely, you know, remove God from the lips of citizens. And so now we've got, you know, this complete like disconnect. And them using our kids against us. Like my daughter last week had to write 1,000 sentences because, I mean, look who I am, right? So there's no secret in my house that we don't wear masks. Okay, this what we're talking about. This is the topic of like 80% of what. Unfortunately, we don't have a real life anymore because, you know, the agenda happens. Now I have to like teach my kids to pick up the torch when I'm gone. But so there's really there's no confusion, right? But I've got a daughter that's about to be 14, and we've got a family on the street, which is the only family on our street, and they're full on maskies, and they haven't been allowed to play or interact with any other kids in the neighborhood for all of this 6 months. This is the family that has repeatedly told my kids that I'm a racist. So that's always fun.
Multiracial kids, by the way.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, they're multiracial kids telling my multiracial kids that I'm a racist. So that's been extra fun to deal with.
Yeah, that's the lowest common denominator.
I mean, I know. I'm like, the ugly's coming from the mom. But so, anyways, I just, you know, but my daughter went out on a bike ride. You know, it's been 6 months, and these kids were allowed to come out. They're all masked, right, and goggled up, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So, but my kids know that we don't do that, right? So, but my daughter went on this bike ride, and she comes back, and I find out, because I have, like, the informer, right? I have a younger kid than her who's, like, the little mud mixer. Thank goodness. But so he comes back and says, do you know that she was, you know, masked up on this bike ride? And it comes down to this, right? She's at that age where she totally knows it's not acceptable. She fully understands the truth, right? I mean, there's no, like I say, we've talked about this. And yet here she is. She just wanted to fit in. And be cool, right? She wants to be cool in her mask, so we had to have her. I had to have her teach herself. So we had 1,008 sentences last week.
Good for you. Good for you. You know, I mean,
because she's a 14-year-old girl. Someone will pull her off of her bike. You know what I mean? She's not, this whole masking too, that's a whole other thing that feeds into the pedophilia, that feeds into the trafficking, that feeds in the victimization of our kids, because you can't identify anyone who's messing with them, and you don't even know which kid was nabbed. So I'm not having it, you know?
Right.
So.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. It's so true. And like here walking down the street, it's impossible to tell, like if somebody is stalking, like is like looking at you, and you can't read anyone anymore.
Read facial expressions, and that's how kids. I mean, we all, but kids who are like really trying to like become human beings and be grounded into their psychology and feel safe in their environment. And even infants, right? That's a huge thing. Like when you have babies, I used to do foster care, and that was a big thing they taught us. Like you have to make eye contact with these, you have to make expressions and sing and let your mouth do different things, because they are learning to attach and connect that way. They're learning to relate to their environment, and they're learning how to be accepted in their social situations. And you just have like this complete perversion of it. It hurts me and it blows my mind. But also I'm like, like my kids didn't go back to school this year, and they probably never will again. We're not masking our kids. That's not.
I know. If I had kids, I would be homeschooling them right now. Absolutely. I mean, you have the time. But yeah, I mean, also my sister she has 14-year-old twin girls, and they too, like some of their teenage friends are so rabidly hating Trump, and just repeating all of what they're hearing and seeing, and and it's just like she's worried about some of these kids. They're so filled with hate and vitriol for Trump, and or for all people on the right. Yeah. And like they do the same thing. They don't, like my mom's like, oh my God, you got to tell her that she's got to knock that off or whatever. And she's like, Mom, I can't, I can't talk about Trump in front of my friends. She's 14.
Yeah, that's what my daughter tried. She's like, it wasn't a big deal. It was just all of us. And I literally was like, I taught you to be a goddess. So stand up in your power and stand up for what's right and go write 1,000 sentences. That was like literally how it went. And so it took 2.5 days. We got it done.
Yeah.
But you're a good mom. Yeah, there's too many. That's the other thing about homeschooling. Like, how many parents are keeping up on it? Because you need both involved.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have a generation. I mean, a generation. They already do. But look at this. Kids, this is so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? And people are still paying full price for college. Are you kidding me? College, as far as I'm concerned, are they kidding? Yeah. It's over for that. Yeah. These people I mean, I heard Columbia is still charging $60,000 a year for remote college.
Wow, that's insane.
Crazy.
That's insane.
But people will pay it just to have a degree that says that they probably can't use anyway.
Right.
Totally.
That's it.
Dude, wow, what a great time, dude. You got some
Mel, I want to.
Go ahead,
I want to just ask. At the end of one of the interviews I listened to recently, you said, you believe that these people are going to be shown. Like they're going to be exposed. They're going to be exposed. Like, how do you see this happening? I mean, I look around and I see people masking all over the place. I mean, I don't see. I've lost some hope recently.
Give us some hope,
Mel. Give us some hope, Mel.
Oh, I will give you some hope. First of all, I do believe that at least 3 big arrests have happened, and a friend of mine that's in the military has confirmed to me that people have honestly been taken to Gitmo. People that we want there. Yeah. So that has happened, but it's even bigger than that. I really do think that when the Epstein stuff hits, it is going to blow people's minds, and because they've been whitewashing it and they're just trying to wait it out, get Joe Biden in there, and then squash the Epstein files. What went on this island and the kind of money that they were investing in experimentation on humans, in international human trafficking, in baby farming, in all this stuff, you guys, when it is not forgivable on this planet.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of these crimes.
Sure. Yes.
And a lot of these people that were involved are so high up that we were told that they were all good, and the evil that they've committed over time, it has to be exposed or it'll never go away.
Yes.
I feel bad because I know Trump knows everything, and General Flynn being when he's finally free, then I'll take it. When I see that his case is dropped and he's vindicated, you can take a deep breath, because that's why they're keeping him silent. Yeah. Because he knows what it was on that Wiener laptop, and a lot of people do. Yeah. And it's bad. And it's real. I mean, it's bad. These people will not recover. And you know what? Like I keep telling people, please don't think that nothing's happening. Harvey Weinstein, Claire Bronfman, Ed Buck, Bill Cosby, Epstein, all these people, the Dubins probably, but also there's a lot of people, I can't say their names, but that you want to be arrested that really have been. And they're talking, you got to remember, once these people, are in jail, and all they're doing is negotiating where they're going to spend the rest of their lives if they get that opportunity. So there are a lot of people in custody right now fighting for themselves. And that's why, I think the minute General Flynn is released, and God willing, so is Julian Assange is a very big part of this.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
His whole thing is very confusing to me. I kind of feel like we're watching a movie, but I don't know for sure. But once he and General Flynn are vindicated, game on. And honestly, I don't see how they cannot release a lot of the stuff about Joe Biden and have people vote. I think that that's horrible. There's a lot about Joe Biden that we don't know yet. And if they don't release it before the election, I don't see how the election can count. That seems like a crime against the American people,
just got
not giving us the information that they have.
There's a federal investigation that opened up against him today, allegedly from some sources. Some, of course, on Twitter, there are all the other sides saying, no, it's not true. But of course,
I
you know
know.
what I mean? So whatever.
That's cool, I tell you.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of it.
I know. So speaking of, Mel, how do we find you? If
Okay,
you
well,
want to
I'm
be found, that
trying
is.
to work on a website and YouTube channel, but I'm slow. So, Impulsive Woman at Twitter. My website is Manic in Manhattan, and I do our shows and everything. But the best place is Impulsive Woman on Twitter,
Cool.
and you can find me there. I'll share my videos from here or wherever. But I should get up. I have a YouTube channel, Manic in Manhattan, but I'm just starting to build it. So
Sweet.
that is where I am.
All right. Well, everybody go support Mel and all her work, man. She's
Thank
she's
you.
a
And
diver.
so support you
Deep diver.
guys.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week. But I'm available anytime to hang out with you
Wow,
cool
yeah,
cats.
We love it. Thank you so much for
Mel.
being
Oh,
here.
thank you guys.
So
Well,
good
next
to
time
talk
we'll
to
let the boys talk, or
Oh,
maybe we'll
yeah.
just
Will we?
maybe we'll just have them
This was
muted.
planned this way.
It was planned this way. It's great.
Good, yay! Good
Awesome.
night, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel.
you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Mel, for being on here with us. Absolutely incredible to get your perspective and your information. Total treat. Everyone,
Amazing.
totally amazing. Just a
Totally
beautiful human.
blew
and
my
so,
mind.
So intelligent, so well spoken, and well researched. So anyway,
Look into this stuff, folks.
Yeah.
please
for sure.
do. Please do. All right. Well, everybody, I am Megan sitting here with Scott and Ed. We wish all of you intellectual prosperity. Good night.
Bam.
Pew.